Hi Esther, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so great to have your time, and especially because you're joining me sitting in UK from Abu Dhabi. So that's even better that we can have this global reach and still get hold of you. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions, if I may, just to be able to get some Q&A on and a testimonial for global tech advocates and Tech London advocates. So if you could please start with just explaining who you are and your role, and what are your objectives and strategic focus in terms of your role, and how you got involved with TLA and GTA.
Yeah, so I'm Esther O'Callaghan. I'm the founder of Hundo, which is a youth skills development platform, and I've been involved with originally Tech London advocates and then global tech advocates more broadly for, I think this is coming into my 6th or 7th year, so I'm like a veteran.
You are.
And for me, obviously originally I joined as a Tech London advocate. I was invited, then I moved to the Netherlands, so I set up Tech Netherlands Advocates, which I now co-lead with Ruben Brave in Rotterdam and Amsterdam, and then kind of beyond that set up the Global Tech Advocates Metaverse Working Group, and now on the steering committee, so, and a few other things that I've done with GTA. So it's a very busy full-time voluntary role.
Yeah, and you managed to grow it to also sit as advisory board member as well, right? So you're kind of in a way of growing in your role throughout those 6 years, and we're coming up to 10th anniversary of GTA. So it shows just how long you have been involved and how you've grown through that. So yeah, thank you for all the work that you've done. I have to say, on behalf of Russ as well, it was so good to have your commitment and dedication to the higher purpose of what we're trying to do across the globe. So I'd love to hear, in all of that, in all the experiences that you had in different roles, if you've got any specific examples of how GTA and TLA has helped you personally grow, but also as your business has grown. And then just to tell us a few stories, including things like how you've even roped in the association with Coldplay as well. So it's things like this I'd love to hear from you, if it's possible.
Yeah, of course. There's too many. I got loads of stories, but I think fundamentally we know that there are issues in the tech industry with diversity, particularly with women in tech. And I think that Global Tech Advocates is a standout beacon for that dynamic not being the case. And so for me, in particular, it wasn't just about being a female founder, it was also the fact that I don't come from a tech background or a STEM background. So the fact that I was so warmly welcomed into the largest kind of international tech community, I think speaks volumes for the kind of the sort of the purpose and the mission that underlies a lot of the work that happens. So for me, yeah, so being able to just join in the first place was huge. And then being offered the opportunity when I moved to a new country, which of course is quite challenging, even though it's what I wanted to do, it's still quite challenging to start somewhere from scratch. So the fact that I was able to contact Russ and say there isn't a Netherlands chapter, I would like to start one, and for him to just open that door wide open meant that I could build a really great network personally across the Netherlands, and then also we were able to then set up the Diverse Founders Accelerator in the Netherlands, which we delivered in Rotterdam. It's now a national program in the Netherlands, and it was actually Tech Nordic advocates that had very kindly given us the blueprint, for doing that through the Women in Tech. So I have like hundreds of these examples, and then obviously when I moved, when I was looking at coming into Hub 71, which is where I'm based now in Abu Dhabi, it was part of being, because I was part of Global Tech Advocates, and obviously there's things that we're active in out here with like Expand North Star and GITEX. It's a proof point, it's kind of like, oh, you're part of GTA, and that definitely helps to open doors. So yeah, I could go on forever with it. Some of the stuff that I'm most proud of, though, with the work that we've done, which you asked me to touch on. So obviously with the Tech for Net Zero campaign. Obviously, that's how we were able to become an associated organisation with Coldplay. So that's, and again, these are all just kind of nudging forward, I think, these important global agendas for the tech industry. And then obviously the one that stands out for me still was GTA Black Women in Tech, when we did the first Voices in the Shadow book, which is now on its 4th edition, you know, like a few years later. So yeah, I have a lot of good examples.
That's so great to hear. And it's so, what's really interesting is how there's so many different examples that you have, but are quite unique. So it's really great to get your stories out there and hear what has benefited not just yourself, but also the business and people that you work with, because it's about them also being welcomed into the community and navigating.
And also I think it's like any volunteer-led community. It's, you know, we're all giving up our time, you know, and time is, you know, the one thing that everyone has in short supply. But for me, it is one of those things where it's not a transactional relationship. It's very much, you know, you get what you give, you know, it's sort of like, and even just on, you know, I've done some bits with GTA Future of Work, and now, you know, kind of Paul Armstrong, who's part of that network, is one of my, you know, biggest, you know, kind of allies, friends, you know, colleagues. So it's kind of that there's a whole professional dynamic of it. But actually some of my closest friends now, you know, are part of GTA. I think I said to you earlier, I was out in the US last month before, and I got to go and hang out, you know, with Lanny in California, you know, so you feel like you have this network of, you know, of not just professional colleagues, but also actually some really good friends.
People you can meet. Yeah, that's great. And so what would you say with different organizations that you got involved with, if you have, and in other professional organizations as well, what would you say is the difference with GTA TLA, and what advice would you give people who are trying to enter into the community and navigate within it?
So it's not corporate.
Yeah.
No, it's not a corporate network, as certainly I don't experience it like that. It obviously has corporates in it, but it doesn't have that kind of that feeling. It's much more, for me, I think about it much more like a global movement of people who, in their own individual ways, are trying to nudge forward an agenda which is about how to make technology work for everybody, you know, in a more equitable way, in whatever way that is, you know, and kind of just nudging forward those important policy, you know, agendas, so that kind of knowledge. It's more, I would say, a network of, or a community of people who are experts in their field, with a genuine desire to actually make things better. And I think that's where for me it's more like a movement than like a professional network.
Okay, cool. And what would you say is your biggest advice for anyone trying to enter into the community or navigate within it and to make the most of their time networking within it? What would you say is your biggest advice? Because you've been really successful in making it work for yourself and also helping others with it as well.
So I think as it's obviously evolved, there's the ability to get involved at the kind of country or, you know, chapter level, which can, I think that's like a really good entry point in one way, if you're doing stuff that's, you know, kind of directly related to that. But I think the kind of the working groups are also a good access point, you know, so wherever you kind of land yourself in whichever of the chapters, then being able to look at the kind of the wider GTA and see which, you know, sort of like, yeah, I can only speak for myself, but, you know, obviously like the, you know, being part of the Future of Work steering group, obviously the stuff around Web3 and metaverse is kind of my, you know, obviously professional area, but area of personal interest as well. So I think if you can find the intersection of personal and professional things that you're interested in within GTA, and then attach yourself to you know, to whichever group or groups, plural, are doing that. But I also think, you know, again, you know, I've been up to with Jeanette up in the Nordics. You know, I spent a couple of weeks in Copenhagen a few years ago with the female founders, you know, accelerator program, which has just grown and grown and grown. Actually, it's quite phenomenal. And, you know, just getting to meet, mentor, support, work with founders, and then some of those people come back in your inbox, you know, kind of a year later or 2 years later, and they've got something, you know, that they can help you with. And I think it's, I think it's much more of I think people need to think a bit more like a pay it forward, sort of approach. Is probably the best way I could describe it. And to just to get involved, but to also be mindful of your own time, But the one classic thing about volunteering is it can, because it's actually fun.
Yeah.
It's actually nice to go and do stuff, with and for other people that isn't the day job. And I think then it can be quite easy to get sucked into all kinds of things, and that just becomes about how you manage your time as a volunteer, which is certainly not unique to Global Tech Advocates.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm impressed also how you've married up your interests and how you got involved with all different thematic working groups, but also global groups, and align it with your work as well, right? In terms of what you are doing in the day job. So that's what I think is an amazing example of how you've navigated it, Esther. And I think I'd love to see more of people see the link between thematic like future of work and metaverse and blockchain, with also the country, and also the internationalization of how you're moving around between different countries, UK, Netherlands, Abu Dhabi. That's so important to capitalize on the different networks that we have. And for me, that it feels like more and more people could do that and make most of that. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, I think it's I think as well, it's just the ability to, you land somewhere and you already have a ready-made community who are there purely for the purpose of welcoming you, helping connect you, do all those things, especially now that we've launched with the GTA launch pads, that have gone live, that kind of idea that you can literally land and almost anywhere now, because we're almost everywhere, I think, at this point as a global network, and that there are people there who share your interests, share a passion for making the tech industry better, and that you can actually collaborate and do stuff. I think is its greatest strength, actually.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that you mentioned the Launchpad, because that was our project that we made sure would allow for founders like yourself to self-serve. So to be able to go in and just identify, okay, this is a country I want to be able to have boots on the ground contact, and identify a network that I could join, and also where if there isn't even a location on there, that they're speaking to people who will know someone in a different place. Because if we've got 40,000 members in 40 locations, we know that the more you network within it, the more you'll find actually there is someone in this city or town that
and it's exponential, isn't it? I mean, I think that's the fascinating thing, because it's like, even if you have sort of 50 people, if you do a kind of an N+1 approach, it's like 40,000 people, but that's probably access to I don't know, a significantly higher number, and I think that's kind of the role, because even if someone is a Global Tech Advocate member, certainly for myself, when I've been approached by people, it's not always someone in the GTA community that I know, but I'm certainly happy to to introduce. And I think if we were able to ever kind of map the ecosystem in terms of its actual reach, globally, it would be I think it would be
I'd love to do that.
We should do it because I think it would be a lot higher than we think.
So. we need AI to help us with that. As you're on your incubator, perhaps have that at the back of your mind when you're working with different AI tools and algorithms. But yes, that'd be great. I just want to say thank you so much for all the effort you've put into all of the things that you've got involved in with GTA and TLA, and all the people that you've helped, and also the support you've given Russ and myself in terms of when we throw things your way and say, hey Esther, do you know anyone who can help so and so? So thank you so much, because that's what makes it work. It's people like yourselves, and for being able to spread the news and the stories of how others can actually get involved and benefit, both from self, but also with the higher purpose of us being able to make the tech ecosystem inclusive, easy to access, like you say, low barrier to entry, but then also help others within it, both for the work that they're doing in their day job, but also for the wider purpose of growing the tech ecosystem. And I think if everyone sees that mission and is part of that, that makes it all the better that we will grow together. So just to end then, I just wanted to see if you could perhaps in a couple of words, 1 or 2 words, or even sentences, how you would describe GTA and TLA community.
Oh, I hate it when they ask these questions. A couple of words. Fun, vibrant, and effective.
Okay, thank you so much. That's really helpful. Thank you so much, Esther. Great to have you today, and thanks so much for your time.
Of course.